Okay, hello everyone. Today's topic is how the Natural History Museum is using data and cloud to accelerate its research into biodiversity and sustainability. And to help me untangle this, I'm joined today by John Tweddle, who is the head of the Centre for UK Nature at the Natural History Museum. Welcome.
Good morning.
So nice to have you with us. So can you tell us a little bit more about the Natural History Museum and maybe specifically the Urban Nature Project?
Yeah, absolutely. So the Natural History Museum is known as one of the world's largest museums, a big visitor attraction with over 5 million people coming through our doors each year, many more online. But what's perhaps less known is that we're a big science research infrastructure as well, founded on our collections. So we have over 350 scientists studying solutions to the planetary crisis of climate change, biodiversity loss, and working on our 80 million specimens. And these specimens are a real treasure trove of information, charting the evolution of our solar system, life on Earth, and providing a real baseline of where species were found across the globe before humans had the big impacts through industrialization and so on.
Interesting, super fascinating. So tell us a little bit more about what you do specifically and your work at the museum.
Sure, so I'm a conservation biologist. I study how the UK's wildlife and environment are changing, so which species we have, how and why their populations might be shifting. And I particularly focus on urban areas, so the complex land and complex fragmented spaces we have in our towns and cities here in the UK. One of our big programs at the moment is the Urban Nature Project, which is really looking at how we can create a new movement for urban nature conservation, and it's much needed. We know biodiversity decline is an existential threat to us as humans, but we also know we've got time to act. So the Urban Nature Project is working with community groups, individuals, schools, businesses across the UK to really explore the wealth of life we can find within urban centres, and develop the science methods that mean we can really look at how we can accelerate its recovery and access that nature for people as well.
I guess everyone agrees that this is a hugely important topic. We need to look at sustainability, biodiversity, especially in urban environments. I know that you're working with AWS so what's the role of data and cloud in this project?
Yeah, so data are fundamental to our response to the decline of wildlife, for example, and understanding the impacts of climate change. So at a very fundamental level, we need to know which species we have in a particular area, how their populations are changing, how positive actions we take are having an impact, hopefully a strongly positive impact. But data are what help us understand where we are, where we're going, and to track that progress. And more with huge challenges like this, we work collaboratively across the sector, across academia, with individual community scientists across the UK and globally. And that's really where the cloud infrastructures come in. More and more of our collaborative science platforms are cloud-based. And we're working very closely with AWS to build what we're calling a data ecosystem for our UK biodiversity research.
Okay, so what made AWS a good fit for you?
Yeah, so I've been thinking about this, and it's one of those partnerships that just works. I think when we first started exploring the technological needs for us to be able to pull data together, collaboratively analyse and package and share those data to people that can use it, we realised we needed a real strong tech partner to help us with that, because we understand the science, we're trying to understand the science. AWS, when we first started talking to them about the data challenges we had, they just got it. They got the scale of the impact, the positive nature of our work, focused on recovering nature for people and nature. And straight away they could understand and challenge us actually around the potential data solutions we might need. So the expertise and the ambition just seemed a very natural fit.
So how does the data ecosystem, how does it work? What will it, and what are you hoping it will deliver in the future? So where do you get the data from? How are you using it? What's the benefit you're hoping to get from it?
Sure, that's a really good question. So we're quite early in the process, so we have a minimal viable project at the moment with the data ecosystem, which we'll keep building on with AWS and colleagues in ThoughtWorks over coming years. So it's really tackling some of the big challenges we have as a museum, which is in how we can use new technologies to pull together and stream big data sets. So IoT sensor networks to monitor environmental conditions, new approaches such as DNA biology, where we can extract DNA from the soil, from the air, to understand which organisms have moved through that environment, acoustic biology. All of these systems bring in a huge amount of biodiversity data, but the data are in very different formats. They may come from very different parts of the country, ultimately the world, but UK for now. So the challenge we had was how we could bring together these big data streams into one place, ensure the data were compatible so we can co-analyse them and use AI, for example, to look for trends and patterns within the biodiversity data. Also, we can better understand how a system of life, an ecosystem is changing. And this is where the data ecosystem comes in. It's this collaborative platform that enables us to pull in, well, actually any number of different digital data sources, starting with 4 or 5 key data sources, as I mentioned. It allows us to pull them into a collaborative environment. It allows us to, it's using a non-relational database system, but we have to impose a bit of structure so that key features of the different data sets are compatible, so we can then co-analyse them in the cloud, actually using Jupyter Notebooks and SageMaker with AWS, in a way that means that researchers and individual naturalists, actually, amateur naturalists across the UK, can access and support that research. But also so we can package that data up. So it's tackling the challenge of how do we bring disparate data systems in, collate and analyse them, and share them in different ways, so they can be used as the endpoint. Because data's great, but it's what you do with it. And this will help us to package the data up for policymakers, for example, for a local community gardener who's interested in how the actions they're taking are benefiting wildlife. So it's a real flexible platform.
Yeah, I like the way that you make it accessible to anyone, potentially.
Yeah.
So what is your future plan beyond the current data ecosystem? What's your plan with the AWS partnership and the use of data and AI in the future?
Yeah, so within data science and AI, different technological advances, they're moving along all the time, right? So we haven't got a fixed plan at the moment, in that sense, from a research perspective, but the system we've got will be flexible. So if we get new data streams, we can bring those in. Quite early in the partnership with AWS, it's a 5-year partnership initially, we're less than a year in. So we're at the stage where we're having a lot of exciting conversations. Conversations around how we can release the power of the data within museums' collections, for example, how we can create a real movement of data scientists across the UK, gathering information on the environment and sharing that for positive conservation action. So plenty of conversations in the background, and we'll see how that progresses. But for now, we're already seeing some changes in the way we work. So we're looking at how we can, instead of creating a software solution, if you like, a data solution for individual projects, now we've got a collaborative framework, a collaborative infrastructure. How can we actually use that as scientists? So a lot of our conversations at the moment are along the lines of, well, great, we've got this now, but how do we change our working practices to really make it truly beneficial, actually, in a solutions perspective? So we're at the conversation point. A lot of excitement, but yeah.
Very good. Thank you so much for sharing this with me. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Anyone who ever wants to re-listen this and re-watch this, just head to my YouTube